Hi there. Welcome to, what are we doing today? To Microsoft 365 live events, how to and deep dive QA webcast. Hi, I'm your host, Michael Giannotti, and I'm joined today by a fellow presenter, Samantha Brown. Pete Anello just popped in, so we have him as well. So we'll have to include him in the credits. And we're ready to rock and roll, but we have a couple of things that we'd like to cover real quickly before we begin today's broadcast. As always, this is brought to you by the Microsoft Healthcare and Life Sciences Group. You can find us by myself, my colleagues on today, and all of our colleagues from the Microsoft Healthcare and Life Sciences Group worldwide over on our blog at aka.ms/HLSblog. That's aka.ms/HLSblog. Be sure to take a look over there if you haven't seen it before after today's broadcast. And you'll find many posts, including upcoming webcasts that may be of interest to you. Moving on. Whoops, there we go. Before we start, a couple of quick housekeeping items. Number one, this is your webcast, right? We're here to help and to give information, but we encourage you to ask questions, especially today. We're going to do some real brief presentation, but we really want to have open Q&A around anything around live events, whether it be Microsoft Teams live events in Yammer, live events in Stream, administration, etc. This is your time. So please ask your questions. The questions are moderated. So as you post those, you'll see your questions in My Questions show up, but you won't see them appear to everybody unless we specifically publish it. Typically we'll queue those up, and that allows us to do some back and forth and kind of moderate and check, and it helps to keep things flowing. But please ask. We want to know what your questions are. Next, we love to know who you are and where you're watching from. I mean, that's one of the fun things about these, like, where's the furthest person away? We've had people from Indonesia, from India, St. Petersburg in Russia. We've had people everywhere. And so we'd love to know who you are. You don't have to tell us your name if you don't want to share that. That's okay. Maybe your first name, or just say where you're from. City, state, country. Let us know. Let us give you a shout out. We love to hear that, and we just love to recognize people wherever you're tuning in from. Next. At the conclusion of this session, we always get asked this: will this session be recorded? It's being recorded as we speak. So as you have questions, look at that. We already have somebody from Siemens IT in the UK. Boom! Welcome. I would do a British accent, but you'll probably want to grab my neck through here, so we won't do that. But yeah, we would love to hear from you. So, at the conclusion, though, today's session will be recorded. It will be posted afterwards. Please, share that recording with your colleagues, and you'll find it at our website at aka.ms/HLSblog. Again, aka.ms/HLSblog. I just saw a Vegas baby, and I saw another one. I thought about the UK. So, we'll keep those coming. Now, real quickly onto the Engage Q&A panel. It seems like some of you are already getting the hang of it, and that's great. If you're not seeing a Q&A panel, up in your upper right-hand screen, you'll see a dialog box with a question mark. If you don't see a QA panel, click that. It'll open it. It'll also close it if you want to maximize your real estate. So you can open and close as you go. After that, when it's open, you'll get this kind of a view. You'll be able to see all questions, My Questions. Notice it says name optional. You can ask a question, and you can also post as anonymous. So feel free, like we said, let us know who you are, where you're from, post your questions. I see the wonderful state of Georgia. Welcome. I'm going to start saying Georgia. There you go. That's my one.
Very nice, Mike.
Midnight train to Georgia, but we'll refrain. What were you going to say, Samantha?
No, I was just saying that was a really nice rendition. I appreciated this song.
Some days you just need that. So we're going to go on to our presentation. To kick off today, Like I said, we're going to have some very short pieces. Start firing those questions away. And let's make this as interactive as possible. Again, this is not just a, us to you. We want to really engage today. But we're going to start off the format. We're going to follow as a real quick highlight of Teams first. And Sam is going to introduce that piece. And then we'll move into the Yammer and then the stream. Meantime, Pete's in the background typing stuff. And my colleagues and Pete and Sam and myself, we'll be muted when we're not speaking. But, to my other colleagues, feel free to jump off mute at any time, interrupt, and let other people know. And James in Tampa, welcome. And we'll stop for some shout outs in a bit, just to kind of call out everybody because it's fun. And it's Tuesday. It says your moderator also spoke in the meeting. Is she now set up as a presenter? We're going to address that. That's a great question. But we're going to go ahead. So we'll cue that up in a bit for our first questions. But you ready, Sam?
I'm ready.
I'm going to go ahead and push your video, send you live, and you can kick my desktop off the screen.
Great. Okay. See my screen?
I do not. Let me stop sharing on my end. There we go. And there you go. You're up.
Great. All right, so we're going to start with a little overview of Teams live events. So one of the things that Mike was alluding to, we have a lot of customers right now that are asking us, hey, how do we do more of these one-to-many events, since a lot of us are working virtually, working from home. So just want to give you a quick overview for those of you that haven't seen the process before. And we do have other webcasts that really dive into the details of the producer side, the presenter side, but I want to give you an overview first, and please feel free to ask questions. We can dive into any piece that you want. So this is kind of the spectrum of conversations that we can have. And today we're really going to focus on these two in the purple right here, the live event, QuickStart, and the live event with the external encoder. So Mike is going to go more into the external encoder and what you can do directly in Stream for a live event. And you might take this as an option if you do have an auditorium or a theater that you have specifically set up for live events. What I'm going to cover right now is the QuickStart directly in Teams. And so with QuickStart, you can share your desktop just like I'm doing now. You can have the moderated Q&A. It's all in one place within Teams. So it's really a way to get you an easy way to produce an event, to share it out, and to have presenters come in and either share their video like we're doing or share their screen as well. More of a one-to-many type of audience engagement. So these are all of the capabilities wrapped up in one slide, so you can schedule the event all through Teams. You're producing the event as we are today in Teams, and just as I'm doing now, you're also presenting in the meetings. And this can be broadcast to just your organization. You could also choose to broadcast it to specific people or specific groups. And you can also choose to broadcast it publicly like we're doing today if you just want to do a webcast with anonymous access from no matter where you are. So you can bring in your existing software or hardware, or you can just use it directly in Teams and set up a live event there. You can watch it on demand. So after the event, you can go in and you can see a Q&A report of all the questions and all the comments that are coming in, all the answers that the moderators are giving back. You can see an attendee report for all of the attendees that came for the day, when they left, when they joined. And then you also have access to the downloadable recording afterwards. And all you have to do is go in your Teams right to that meeting that you had set up as the event, and it will be there for you directly in your Teams interface. So as Mike was showing you today, you can manage Q&A directly through Teams. What you're seeing is that you're posting your questions and your comments, but then on our side as the producers, we can choose to either directly respond to you privately. We can choose if it's something that applies to the whole group to publish it across to the entire group, or we could choose to dismiss it after we've talked to you privately. So we are controlling that on the back end, on the producer side. And just to give you a little sneak preview, this is what the producer side looks like. So on the left hand side here, you can see we're queuing everything up. We're saying, hey, how does this look? If I share my screen or if I put a video up, what does this look like? And none of the audience sees any of this. So you can kind of play around here and make sure that it looks right before you click send live here. And then everything on the right-hand side is what you as the audience sees. So it's not until you as the producer click send live that the audience sees this. Just so you know a little bit about how it looks on the producer end for us today. And this is the process in general. So live events within Microsoft 365 as a whole consist of scheduling. You can also, like we showed at the beginning, QuickStart directly through Teams or use your external encoder if you already have one set up. Then you're going to get the producer side, which we showed a little glimpse of in the previous slide. That goes through Azure Media Services and then is archived. And then what we can go into if we have questions around it is our third-party ECDN providers like Collective and Hive and Ramp, so that it eventually gets to your attendees with the best quality possible. Just to go into the last slide here around key roles. So there are schedulers, producers, presenters, viewers, and administrators. Now, on the producer side, like I was mentioning, this is really the person behind the scenes that's responding to the Q&A, that's making sure to set up the event, that's going in and has control over what the attendees see and which presenters are actually going to present. The presenter, on the other hand, is a person that is either sharing their screen or they are just having the video of them talking. It's a very, very simple interface compared to that the producer sees. The viewer is all of you that are attending today. So you are, as you can see, not able to use audio or video, but you can click into the Q&A and leave comments and questions there. And so that's the attendees. And then what we usually recommend is that if you do have a huge event with a theater or auditorium and you know that you need someone full-time looking at permissions, reporting, network performance, that you have a separate administrator for events. Now for the webcast today, for example, Mike and I are and Pete are doing all the administration and producing just as one team. So you can have those two roles combined. So those are the key roles there, a little bit about the process and what it looks like in Teams as a producer. Happy to go into any of those, and we have screenshots of all of them for your viewing, but want to make sure that you get an overview of all of it, not just Teams. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike, because I know that you have a lot around the other live event options within Microsoft 365.
All right, let me pull my video up. And I'm going to add my, you unshared, so I'm going to share screen. Perfect. 2. Dun, dun, dun. Add my content, and here I come. And there she goes. All right, so we're going to keep moving on. I did see there was somebody, I think I published it, who wasn't hearing audio, Sam. If you want to instruct them on, it sounds like they're muted or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll message them.
Yeah. And I did see you're replying to somebody on the recording, the presentation. The recording will be posted out to our blog, aka.ms/HLS blog. So just to kind of follow up, last thing, did you show the team's live assistants? I was busy saying hi.
I did not. So show them, please.
So real quickly, you can see this. If you are looking, I want to get this out of the way before I move on. For any types of live event, whether it's a Teams live event, a Stream live event, or a Yammer live event, like we're going to talk about and show, you have the ability to go in today at no cost to you. It's in preview, so they're not charging. And you can request assistance here. and you can see what they're actually offering. So it has a number of facets to it. So before an event, they're going to give you some training and education around streaming and how that works, review best practices, validate your setup and config with your network and all that, answer questions and help you plan for it. Then they're going to help you with the rehearsal for an event. They're going to be available to help during an event if needed, and then post-event. The other thing that it does, the type of events I'm going to show, not a Teams live event, but a stream live event that we're going to show. For now, you can actually come in if you use request assistance and do a stream live event. We are enabling through July 1st, we'll let you have as much as 100,000 concurrent attendees to that live session. And let me tell you, that's a boatload. So there we go. So before I get started, was there any particular questions that I should be addressing, Sam?
Yeah, I think that Sean brought up a good one. He was mentioning that I also spoke in the meeting. So
Yeah.
am I set up as a presenter, and how does my voice show up at the same time? And I think that's a really good one to go over the roles that we were showing on that slide.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so there's the two roles, and you hit it spot on, Sean. There's a presenter and then there's a producer. So when we're in teams with the presenter and producer, the idea is that a producer can do everything, mix, match. Like I have Sam added as actually a producer. Producers can present just like a presenter. So we have a small group of us. We're just added as producers. But when we invite other subject matter experts for webcasts, a lot of times we'll set them as a presenter, and they'll just get a normal Teams view. They don't have to, they're not confused with all the other, things as far as mix and matching content, queuing it up, pushing it over. None of that. They share their desktop, they share their video if appropriate, and it makes it easy for them. But certainly, you may have folks that are doing moderating the Q&A, and you would add them as a producer in that case. So anybody who has to do an advanced thing beyond just presenting, you add as a producer. Any others?
So I think that pretty much covers the intro for Teams, but Josh
Okay.
has a question in general that's pretty great. I think he's asking, is it possible to show multiple cameras and multiple screen shares, or is it the kind of thing you'd recommend to be produced via Wirecast or something like that?
No, that's a great question. So actually, can we hold that one? I want to get through this.
Yeah.
Because then we'll get on all the advanced. The short answer is yes, you can do some crazy stuff, and I'll cover all that in a bit.
We'll hold on that.
Yeah, we'll hold on to that. So real quickly, I want to cover, she started Teams as kind of that baseline set for, really meant to address, and as a good example, we have for Microsoft Healthcare and Life Sciences, we're a national org. And she said, just to be clear, we are just hearing Sam from your connection as you present, or can producers be heard? Yeah, anybody whose microphone is unmuted can be heard. So like right now, Sam, go ahead and unmute, and Pete, unmute and say something.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm glad it's springtime.
That's great. Yeah. So anybody whose microphone is unmuted, all audio can simultaneously shoot out, or they can mute. So they don't have to be in that presentation. And he said, thanks. Good. Glad we answered that. So moving on. So Teams kind of sets up that baseline presentation piece, for doing a live event. The next layer up around engagement is Yammer. And Yammer is really community focused, right? Teams could be a large team that works together. I mentioned we have a healthcare and life sciences group that we're members of. That's a team. It's a division. It's large, right? There's thousands of us nationwide. And so when they do a all hands for the Microsoft Healthcare and Life Sciences group, it's delivered via Teams live events, right? They just have an admin typically who sets it up, and they host, our VP and others present nationally, but that's at a team level. Communities in Yammer are typically topical focused, and those can be, again, very large. For example, we have at Microsoft CEO Connection, which is Satya Nadella's Yammer group. It's huge. There's tens of thousands of members of that particular group. Well, with a Yammer live event, it allows us to scale now to a group, which can be, if you think about a public one, potentially everybody in the company could go to it. But the way that we set up these type of events, we come in, and so I'm going to pick, let's say, crisis management. A lot of folks are dealing with crisis management right now. So here we have a Yammer community that's been set up to handle and facilitate discussions, and where employees can get out and ask questions and do things. And we have the ability to create a live event for this community, but it could be, new hires. Maybe it's an educational one around that. And it can be done as simply as coming in and selecting create a live event. And you'll notice previously we saw the one in Teams. We can set it up so that we use, again, just this Teams client to go ahead and produce the event, just like we're doing right now through Teams live events, but it'll show up in Yammer. Or I can use an external app or device, and that gets kind of into that question we heard about multi-camera. An external app is where we have either software or hardware, so something like OBS, for example, or Wirecast, or a whole range of other pieces of software and things that are out there today that allow us to go ahead and pull in multiple camera views and other things, and then sort all that out and push that out as a stream. And we can select that, and that is the default. And if I select next, then it's going to ask me for the title, and I'll give it a title. We'll just say this is a Yammer live event demo. We can give it a start and a stop time, and we can give it a description, yada, yada, yada. Again, we can add now here. In this case, we're adding just producers. Why does it not have presenters? Because people aren't being brought into Teams as a presenter. It's simply people producing, those different feeds, which can include cameras, pre-encoded videos. It can include desktop sharing. Maybe it's somebody at a podium speaking and we have a camera on them, or we're pulling in a view of their desktop. Whatever those cases might be, the production is all done in that external piece of software or in the hardware. So I can add additional producers, but I'm going to go ahead, select schedule. Once we've done that, it's going to take me into the view that users would see within Yammer. So here you can see it has this, it has the start time. It says I can go ahead and select startup. I see that because I'm a producer. So the producers would have access to this. They can come right from here, and when they click start setup, it's going to say just a moment, getting your live event ready. It's going to set that up service side. It's all actually Azure Media Services. So it says you're now ready to connect, and I can go ahead and start the event. And I can open this in Stream. I'm going to do that so that you can get an idea of what this looks like. And here's that event. And here it has this, what we call an ingestion URL. Now, this is one of the differences between Yammer and doing an external encoder. So with an external encoder, whether it's software or hardware, we need to tell it where to shoot its video and audio signal, all the things that have been mixed and that we want to send out. And we do that with this thing called an ingestion URL. Microsoft Live Events uses RTMP. That's an industry standard. So if you're doing something on YouTube, if you were doing it on Wirecast, if you're doing Twitch or Switch or one of any, Facebook, any one of a number, Twitter, any number of these different services, they all use RTMP. That's an industry standard. And the beauty of Stream is, since we're using that, that means you can hook up any encoder that you want to use that you leverage for any of these other services. You just need to give it this ingestion URL. We also, just so you know, if I click Show Advanced Options, give you the option for a secondary ingestion URL. And what that means is I can have failover at my encoder option, whether it's software or hardware, so I could have two of them. So let's say a machine drops with one, the other, if it's also streaming to the secondary, it'll just kick over and we're not going to have a loss of signal. So we have that available. And when we're ready, once we've given it, we can click Start Event, and then the attendees, whatever's being broadcast, they'll see that. And again, they'll see that right here in Yammer. And the beauty of it is, now I can ask questions. How is this stream being delivered? And we can go ahead. It would help if I spelled right, but we have spell check in Yammer, which is a beautiful thing. So we can do things like bullet points, add links, and do some basic formatting. I'm going to go ahead and post that. And here's the beauty of this. This is going to give us a filtered view of just these conversations. But remember, I made this an event as a part of crisis management. So if we come out here to crisis management, you can see we have the total stream, but I'm not getting all these other conversations here. I'm simply getting the ones that are filtered. So it's almost like it's giving it a hashtag behind the scenes and doing a filter. But then people can come in, they can reply. It's magic. And post replies, and we can go on. And the beauty of this now is, if you think about things that you're doing for ideation, training, and others, now I have this record as a part of the community that's filtered against this video, because once we're done streaming, it's available immediately on demand, so people can continue to watch, iterate, and discuss. They can @mention people, so I could, go ahead and say @mention. Let's say I started to say Nurse Lee or Admin Kelly or Nurse Nancy. We can people, they'll get alerts, and we can have this running dialogue both in real time and on demand after the effect, right? And to show multiple cameras and screens, I'm going to get back to that in just a bit, but yes, you can use OBS and mixers like that for this. So that's the Yammer. Again, very simple to produce, very easy to do. The other added benefit of Yammer is, once we're done, if also you can take this exact same stream, I'm opening it up here in Stream, and if we give the audience view, I get this option to go ahead and grab the share. I can also embed that exact same video that I'm streaming into Yammer. If I wanted to, I can make that thing available in, in a SharePoint page, right? I could take this link, drop it right in, or use the embed code. I could even drop, anywhere where I can do embeds or video, I can drop that in and have it instantiate. So it's a beautiful thing. We can do that live or on demand. The second it's done, it's available. So then if you wanted to re-leverage this, for example, one of the things that's kind of cool, and I'll just show you this, and this is a little trick you can do with any video, as well as live, but I'm just going to click the link here. All of the Microsoft services, we've tried to make these web aware. So if you want, in this case, I'm going to turn off that hand, and I'm going to go ahead and say paste. I click that link. I just did this in OneNote, and look at what it's doing. It's automatically grabbing a view to the stream. It's saying video cannot be found. This is my corporate OneNote, and that's in a demo tenant. But notice what it did. It gave the frame here. If I did that in OneNote in the same tenant, you'd actually get the video right in line. So any of our other applications like PowerPoint, etc., you can now take and actually embed that code right on the fly just by virtue of a link and then re-expose it. And that's part of the beauty of it, right? So reuse, and that was doing that via Yammer. The last place that you can do these type of videos is in Stream itself. So here we're in Stream, and again, if this is enabled, I have the ability to click create, and this is going to look very familiar. When I click live event, it looks like what we had in Yammer, but with some additional options, right? And this Yammer kind of sits in between Teams and Stream as far as sophistication. Stream offers us the most sophisticated setup capability, and then how we want to expose that. You know, we have a lot of options around that. So in this case, I come in and give it a name. I could say, you know, Stream Demo, give it a description, blah, 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 blah. I could put hashtags. It also has the ability to do a thumbnail. Now, we didn't get that with Yammer. So I could come in here and let's say I want to put, there we go. I think there's a great view. My two colleagues, boom. I add a thumbnail and notice how it makes that preview more attractive, right? So if I embed this, maybe I'm going to embed this on a SharePoint page, like a crisis management portal or my corporate homepage. I can embed it and it's going to have, you know, when we stream live, it'll start to auto start wherever I put that. But in this case, it'll also give it, instead of just a black plain window, it allows me to give a visual indicator of what's to come, right? So we get that here. We get the language selection capability, what's being spoken, and then start time. Do I want to specify one, or as soon as encoder is connected, now? So that's a beautiful option. Again, as we're looking at things where we may have crisis management and other emergency type settings, you know, where we need to just kick something right off the bat and start streaming, we can do that as soon as our encoder is selected. I'm going to select that just so we can continue on. Then we have the ability to do permissions. Now, this is important. Who can attend a meeting? This gets into some of the security that some folks were asking. So you saw in Teams, we have three options there. We can select for that that we want to have, for example, it be public. Now, public is a wide open, anybody who has that URL can click and attend it. We do provide for moderated Q&A, so there's built-in safeguards, right? Like in this case, you know, people are posting questions, they did shout outs, etc. But they're not going to be able to post and spam and do, you know, people have heard of things out there like somebody asked a question about a competitor. There's their bombing, you know, that happens where people, they're on a session and they get jumped and all this stuff happens. We don't have to worry about that because again, we're doing moderated Q&A and we can, you know, keep that from being seen and dismiss inappropriate commentary. There's no ability for them to push content. So we have a lot of options there that people can provide within this type of an environment. But if you want to invite external folks, the other two options was all organization and then also people and groups. So for example, if you are federated with another organization, and Sam and I last night, we spent some time pinging around and showing some of the, you know, testing and double checking because we do have, I'm going to pull up over here, like planned for live events, who can see, right? And it says who can watch. So we see a Teams produced or an external app or device production. So public, we can't do that. We can do that with a Teams live event like you're seeing now, but we cannot do that with the Yammer or the stream. However, and then it says no guest users, but you can with Teams live events. Those now can do that. It says everyone in a federated company. The short answer is no, but federated attendees can be invited through people and groups. So for people and groups, if you have a group that you have from a federated attendee list, you can actually invite them to that stream. So I've had people ask about that. Maybe they're doing a merger and acquisition, or they now have a child company or something. It's a different domain. If they're federated and you have a group that's a part of that federation where you can pull that group, then you can pull them in. You don't just invite, hey, they can't just tune in when you do the all company. That doesn't show up. But if you invite them as a group, and we actually tested yesterday, I had a associated, they're a customer of ours who is federated, and they have an all company group. We added the all company group into that. We did a group invite and it popped, and we could invite that. So you can do things with federated. You can also do guests here in a Teams event like we're in right now. I can go ahead and invite Teams. So you do have some options for where you want to do secure non-domain people and groups, right? And please take a look, take advantage. We're going to provide the links to all these so you can kind of look through all that. Again, if you're using our live assistants, they'll assist you with some of that. But I think, that's an important thing to keep in mind. So I'm going to just keep my desktop just for bandwidth. I'm having a little, there we go. So we're not going to push my video, just the screen. So that's, some of the things that you can look at there. But, again, if you think about the 3 levels, we have Teams, then Yammer, and then Stream. So before we do anything about admin or any of that, we had a lot of Q&A and a lot of shout outs.
Yes. Yes, we did.
You want to start teeing that up?
Yeah. So Jessica's asking, when you create the notification in Yammer, when you create a live event in Yammer, do the people in that group in Yammer get notified automatically, or do you have to send out a separate notification?
So that's a great question. So typically, unless they have notifications turned on, which they probably don't because they'll get spammed, they're not going to get that. So you would send the notification, but it also will, it automatically does display in that Yammer, right? So you get group events, here they are. And so you can, share those. If people are subscribed though, for notifications, they can get that automatically. But yeah, we're not going to just shoot that out. Typically, you'll craft an email or something and then, notify them that way.
Awesome. And then Remya is asking, is the Yammer live event using Stream in the backend? So maybe, I know you went over, but maybe we can reiterate the difference between Teams live events and Yammer and Stream and where they're stored.
Sure. So when we talk about streaming and Stream, we'll take one step back. All of it, whether it's Teams, Yammer, or Stream, they're all the same. They're actually using Azure Live Media, live streaming. It's the same technology that we use to stream the last bunch of Olympics. The largest events ever on the history of the internet streamed using Azure Live Media, right? Where it's that Azure Media Services live event capability. So it's the exact same technology under the hood. That's why for right now, because of the things going on, with COVID and others, we had a lot of people wanting to do real broad scale events. They were able to go very quickly behind the scenes. When you create the event, what happens is it spins up the virtual instance in Azure Media Services to accommodate that. up until now, we've only done that because we're not charging for these, and you can do up to 15 events concurrently. Since we don't charge for those, what we've done is cap them at 10,000. We've spun up an environment that is scaled for 10,000 concurrent attendees, right? But we're able to adjust that on the fly. So what we've done is if you're going to do a stream one, that high-end professional where we think it's probably a C-level exec, large corporate announcement or something, that if you engage our live assistance people, they can quickly go behind the scenes and go flick the switch and change that from 10,000 to 100,000. But it's the exact same tech that's delivered for many millions of concurrent attendees in different events. So it's all just Azure Media Services. We just surface it 3 different ways depending upon the audience type and the level of sophistication for delivery.
Awesome. And we're getting asked about reaching external audiences when connecting external encoders. Because they're saying they can't use Microsoft Stream when having to target external stakeholders and they have to use third-party providers.
All right, so there's 2 things to that, and that's a great question. Number 1, again, if we come on back here to, who can see what, you actually can, depending upon their status and the type of delivery, you can target them. So number 1, just as we're doing today, you could use a Teams live event and create a public-facing webcast. Anybody with the link can tune in. That's using Teams. Having said that, a lot of folks then say, yeah, but then I don't get that multiple camera view and all that. You can. You absolutely can with Teams. The way that you do it, a little trick, is you get an HDMI or SDI to USB 3 or USB-C adapter. For example, Megwell, who's a partner of Microsoft and in heavy use by a lot of our folks internally, Megwell has devices that'll take either SDI out. So if you have hardware that's doing, HD SDI, which is kind of the industry standard for TV and that type of production, or if you have HDMI coming out from a source box with multiple cameras and things coming in, you can plug those, either one of those, into a Megwell, which then will plug in to a PC, and it shows up to the PC like a webcam, which means I can then, just like I have this whole screen here being a view of my desktop, I could have it be just my face, for example, right? Or I could have, my webcam face. But just as you can choose webcams in Teams, that Megwell becomes a webcam source. So you can have all that premix coming into Teams and then show that publicly. So that's one way you can get around, and you can do that as a public join. The other is if you do have, right? If you do have specific users or group, external parties that you're federated with, or that you have some of the guest access, and we'll get into that. So guest, number 1, I can do them through Teams as well. So if they're already a guest for Teams, I can now invite my guests to a Teams live event. It's very common for people to have a Microsoft team where they have external guests, right? I'm a member of many, so are Samantha and Pete. And if, as such, we can be invited to Teams live events. For a federation.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
that was my iPad trying to talk. I don't know why. So if they're federated, though, if they're a partner or somebody that you federate with, like Microsoft federates with many, then through people and groups, I can invite those federated. So, and I can do that with an external encoder. So, and she's beeping again back there.
I'm on it.
How dare you? I don't want you on it. So that's some of the things that are available for those options. So you can do public, and you can do it through Teams like we're doing here with an external, kind of encoder and all that stuff, and bring it in through a Magwell, and then have all that pre-mixed stuff show up just as a big webcam and go full screen with it. Or if you want to use external encoder native, then as long as they're part of a federated attendee group, then you can bring them through people and groups invites. All right, moving on.
Okay, awesome. So the other piece, a lot of people are asking for references, so we'll definitely have those afterwards. I know Mike has suggested, but it's aka.ms/HLS blog, and then we'll also have links to resources out afterwards as well.
Yeah, we have there's a whole bunch of case studies using live events.
Yeah. And Mike, I think my network bandwidth is a little low right now, so can you see the next questions coming up?
Sure. So let's see. So I think we did let me, let's see. I'm enabled to create live events, and we've held several, but I don't see, the option in Yammer. That's a great question. So that actually needs to be so number one, from an admin standpoint, just like in Teams live events, they need to enable that in Teams for you to do team, even though so you can come back here. Let's come on back here. So if I'm in Stream, right, I can come in and let's go to my Stream admin, and we can set up live events, right? So I can come here and make sure it's enabled. Now, number one, first thing is this. If you haven't looked at this, it says off. Most people just glance at this and think, oh, nobody can create them until I turn it on. It's the exact opposite. So when you turn this on, only those that you add, people and groups, can create live events. But having said that, if we create this here, I still have to make sure that in Teams, if I want to do a Teams live event, we have to make sure that we've enabled in Teams, we come under meetings, live events, right? So we have the settings here, and then we have policies, and I need to make sure that my policy is set so that who can schedule. I need to make sure this is turned on, right? And one of these selected. So you need to make sure you're enabling this kind of thing and you turn on allow scheduling. If you don't, it doesn't show in Teams. The same thing goes for Yammer. Whoever's administering your Yammer environment, they need to enable in Yammer, and they can control who can do that. So if you're not seeing that, you need to talk to your Yammer admin, whoever's administering that, and make sure that they turn it on there. So I hope that's helped. Next, why don't you give us an option to reach an external audience when connecting an external encoder? We simply cannot use Stream when having to target our external stakeholders. Oh, that's the same one I just answered. So we do. So number one, if you go ahead and you federate with your external stakeholders, then you can pull them in any of the methods, right? Whether it's a Yammer, whether it's a Stream, or whether it's Teams. Or today, if you use Microsoft Teams, then you can, of course, do it just even for guests. So we do have that enabled. You just need to make sure that that is properly configured. And that's Johan. So hopefully that answers your question. Next, what are the permission levels for guest and federated users? I think I hit that. and we'll provide the link so you can go back and look at those again. And those are, so number one, from a presenter point of view, as a team for, let's say, Microsoft Teams live event, I can actually pull the person in not only to view, but I can even have them be a presenter, not a producer, but a presenter. I can do that for guests or federated users. I can invite them in to be presenters. And then on the consumption end, again, it's guests can be have access to view via stream, Microsoft Teams live events. And for Stream and Yammer, then it's a federated user, and I can invite them under people and groups. Oh, that person published it 3 times, 4 times, 5. All right. I think they were waiting for me to answer. So moving on, why does the network bandwidth option happen often? Is this home ISP or Azure Microsoft bandwidth issue? Yeah, so that's a great question. So it really, there's a couple of things. Number one, you've seen it happen lately often. So number one, when you're seeing that from your client, that bandwidth piece, that is about your local bandwidth. That is not about ours. So we use dark fiber where we have fiber connect between our data centers. So that's never the issue. The big issue is me going out and up. And there's a couple of things that you want to look at. Again, we'll have links to all this. And I've posted in the past a number of these, and I'll repost with this. But for your users who are presenting or producing, number one, if you're on premise, if they're on premise, you need to ensure that your firewalls, we have some addressing that you want to open up going out through your proxies to make sure that they're doing a direct shot, that they are not being bound with all the rest of your outbound traffic where they could get congested. So there's some settings that you want to configure there. For your home users, you need to ensure that you're split tunneling so that they're not coming, excuse me, from their home in through your corporate environment and then out as they're pushing a signal. The same thing for consumption. As you're having those folks on premise, you want to make sure the appropriate settings are done, with your proxy so that you're not congesting them coming through. And also for the people watching, and I've seen this already, and I'm just starting a cough drop because I'm got a scratch in my throat. For the people watching from home, you want to ensure, and I already have seen this at a couple of orgs where they said, look, we only had 300 people and it was slower than molasses for them. Turned out they were not split tunneling the signals. They had done split tunneling config for Teams, but not for live events. And they are different. So you need to make sure that the live events portion is being split tunneled so they are not going through that or going. That also pertains if you have something like Zscaler. You do not want this going through your Zscaler. It's going to clog up and slow down. So you need to make sure those configurations are there. Other than that, for me as a home user producing and publishing right now, all that's set for me. But as you know, right now, ISPs themselves are struggling with bandwidth. I will tell you that the fiber cable providers, it tends to be better. The ones who are regular cable providers, that there is a multiplicative, I don't know if I can say that right, multiple effect or impact on the lines within given segments where the more people that join those, it actually starts to diminish typically their bandwidth, and they're opening that up more and more. But I have seen for people who have cable providers, it'd be less. I'm on a fiber one, but even then they've had issues on and off. So, and that's just because of so many people right now remote. It's an unusual time. But that indicator that you see locally is about your bandwidth, you're pushing out. It's not about ours up in the cloud. So great question. Clearly, RTMP ingestion is for power users and specialists. Do you see Teams production as any man? That's a great question, Josh. And the short answer is yes. Teams is anybody, right? Like I mentioned, our national group, our VP, their admin just sets it up. It really is. If you can do Teams, you can do Teams live events. But just little fun fact. In that case, Teams is the RTMP client pushing it out. So that Teams is able to do that. It's just all preset. There's nothing for you to go in and configure. But it also means it's a single point of failure versus multiples. So it's never really mattered in the whole history of me doing this for years. It's never mattered, but once. But yes, that's kind of the every person there. All right, so is there a way to take audio questions? Oh, that's a great one. Audio questions from the audience during an event. So out of the box, the answer is no. But, and I always say but, so yes, it can be done. I actually used to do this when I was at the MTC. So let's say, for example, it's all in how you pull the audio in. So right now I'm talking and I have a microphone. And my microphone picks up my voice and it streams as a part of that video. It's one stream, audio and video, getting pushed up. If you have audio call-in, think about this. When you listen to the radio or you're watching a TV show, if there's a contest and they have call-ins, the first thing they do is tell people to what? Turn it down. If they have the TV playing in the background or the radio program during the contest, please turn that down because there's a mismatch, right? Because of that delay. So because of that delay and that mismatch, what we do is you bring the audio feed in co-located to your primary producer or presenter and their microphone. And I used to do this in the MTC. I used I still got it. It's old. That's the only. I don't have a new one, Pete. I'm kidding. I have an old Jabra puck. I'm going to let me put my video because I'm going to be showing some physical stuff. So let's do split screen. There we go. So what I used to do, here's that job. Ooh.
Go to the Bluetooth menu on your
I don't want that. Turn off.
Select it from the list.
At any rate, before it talks again, there's my old Jabra puck, right? The USB device, and I can plug it in. I used to co-locate it. I'm afraid I have a microphone sitting here that I use, a blue mic. It's a USB mic. I used to literally just co-locate this next to the mic, and I just press another button. But I co-locate it. And what I would do is I had that tied into another PC where, in my case, I created a call-in with Skype. You could do it with a Teams call-in, or you could actually put a conference phone, right? I got phones back here. I got these voice over IP phones. If you have something with a speaker and noise canceling, co-locate it, and you can allow people to call in. You just need to make sure that you for those folks that they turn down any volume, that they don't have it so it doesn't provide that mismatch. But it absolutely can be done, and then it's just depending how you want to set it up. That's where a stream live event is so cool, because stream, I can embed that stream into a web page, a SharePoint page, and then I can include whatever I want on the web page, including maybe a Microsoft form for a survey or capturing information. I can include a link or a phone number, dial in with your questions. And if you have call queuing or whatever you've got, call plan, as long as you have somebody who's moderating that and queuing up the calls, you can do that all day, right? So it just depends how you want to set that up so it can be done. All right. Let's see. Next, what are the advantages of this compared to other online hosting platforms? So number one, scale, right? if we're talking about webcast versus a a real-time meeting. Teams does meetings up to 250 people. Out of the box, we do 10,000 concurrent attendees, and you can have up to 15 events at the same time. That's a lot of people watching a lot of stuff at no additional charge, right? You own it, you can leverage it, it's there for you. We're doing now as a limited time up to 100,000 in those stream ones. You're not going to find the one that the person posted there. I'll just say it began with a Z and ends with an M. But they, you're not going to find them being able to scale to that. No ifs, ands, or buts. It just is not going to happen. So you own this. We don't charge you any additional. It's a service you own. You can leverage and keep leveraging till the cows come home at no additional charge. And we do have 3 different levels of delivery depending upon the sophistication of the webcast you want to deliver, with a huge range of other options and how you provide for that. The other is, I'll just throw this out there. We also have a worldwide CDN, content delivery network. So I've got folks in the UK watching me right now. They're not coming over the pond, or I saw Denmark was there as well. They're not coming over the Atlantic over the internet and then connecting. They're actually connecting via their local data center, right? So with their local data center, the closest one to them, then I'm getting rid of my video again. There we go. So when they connect to that local data center, it goes over our fiber across the Atlantic versus the whole internet. You don't have all that. You get that out of the box. We don't charge you for that, right? So, and we also have some great partners if you want to set up an eCDN so that when it comes through your network, again, we make this very simple. If I'm in the stream admin, where was that? Here we go. If I'm in stream admin, if I need to set up, so for a local area network segment, I want to minimize it. We have 3 great partners who do eCDN in our environment to, again, minimize the traffic through your proxies. It's just point and click and you're done. So we have some great providers. We do Collective, Hive, and Ramp, and they're all phenomenal partners for you to quickly set up. And then there's nothing for you to do. So whether it's scaling and providing the best quality service multinational, or within the many physical plants of your organization and minimizing the traffic through their egress points, we've got all that. So I hope that's answered that. So have you seen new questions, Samantha, or is there any I missed?
Yeah, I think we covered all of them but one, and that was the one that Josh asked at the beginning. So is it possible to show like multiple cameras and multiple screen shares?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you, first I'm going to bring up OBS. So this is just an example. If you want to do multi-camera view, OBS, no, I'm not going to update. Remind me later. There we go. OBS is software. It's freeware. Anybody who, if you have people in your org, I'll just say this, who are gamers, who look at it. There's a window in a window in a window. If you have people in your org who are gamers and are used to pushing out to Switch or Twitch, they probably know OBS. Now there's a wide variety of software packages and hardware such as NewTek TriCasters or Blackmagic. We have a whole list of not approved, but officially supported providers. OBS is one of those though, and it's free. And what it allows you to do is I can add as many sources, right? Audio input capture, audio output capture, browser, color source, display capture, game capture, image slideshow, 3D camera green screen, media source, a scene, text, video capture device, window capture device, like if you have multiple screens. So I can do all these different ones, and I can add, as many as I want, and then add them here or subtract them, and then create this dynamic view that I can go ahead and, you know, on the fly change and resize and do all kinds of stuff. And it will push out. All I have to do to work with this is come into settings, go to, to stream, and there's that server ingestion URL. I put it in here. It does ask for a stream key. We don't ask for a stream key. This is OBS wants one. So I put 1, 2, 3. How many did I put? I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was it. But once that's done, all I ever have to do is, when I'm getting ready to stream again, put the new ingestion URL. And then when you're ready, you click start streaming. You can also control the fidelity of the stream, right? Under that, under settings, you know, I can say for a given stream, you know, what's the output? What's my bit rate? And for those who are looking to lower the bit rate, this actually is a great option, because whatever the bit rate is that it's receiving, that will be the top end of the stream. We do variable bit rate delivery, but that'll be the top end, and it'll go down from there. So you can actually throttle your stream and that whole experience based upon your encoder right here. And again, I can have multiple pieces, but there are many different devices and things we can make available for this. And then the other option that you can do too, I was involved in a webcast yesterday, and what they did, they even took Teams, which was kind of cool. They wanted to have Teams. They wanted to have that Brady Bunch multi-square for a panel. They took Teams on a computer, and they used a HDMI out device and then into another computer for an external encoder like OBS, and then pushed their stream out. So they took the whole experience, and because you can window and control what we show, they actually put just the Brady Bunch, not the whole Teams piece, but just the video boxes. They had that just displayed and then push that out. So there's a lot of crazy options you can get into. And again, that stuff, though, if you do go to Live Events Assistance, that it's going to, and I'll put this, let me put this link. I'll say make an announcement. We'll put that right here and push that out. So those folks will be able to help you with a lot of this and discuss that. You know, with my own customers, I've kind of worked through, and it's certainly things that you can do. I don't see any more questions. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Well, we still have a bunch of people on. I want to thank you for attending. That was awesome. I guess we'll get ready to wrap up. I don't know, Sam, do you have anything you wanted to add, or Pete?
I think the only thing is that by the end of the day, we'll have the recording and all the resources for you in case you want to reference it. But no, that's about it.
Pete?
Nope, nothing on my end, guys.
You know, my last thing is try it, right? Give it a try. You can, just for a pilot or proof of concept, you can engage these folks at the Live Events Assistance and help to deliver a pilot. Get a bunch of your users and go ahead and push it. And you can, you know, engage your Microsoft Technical Account Manager as part of that network assessment on the back end. Take a look at that. But we're going to give you all the supporting documentation, you know, the links. And I'm getting the poor quality. See, I'm getting the poor quality now. That's my local. I have older people in the house all using our wireless and wired, you know, out. So we all get that. But that's it from my end. I want to thank everybody for joining. So for myself, Sam, and Pete, we want to wish everybody a great day. If you have additional questions, once that post goes live, post them in there and we'll be happy to address them. With that, this is Mike. We're bidding you have a great day. I'm forgetting what I'm going to say. Have a great one and ciao. Bye-bye now.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.